Stop me if you've heard this one before. Star player has a free agent summer coming up. The season becomes a 9-month speculation fest on whether he's going to stay with his team. The fan base is hopeful, then worried, then devastated when July comes. He goes elsewhere and the franchise is left facing years of rebuilding. It's almost like a reverse fairy tale with no happy ending, except sometimes it goes the other way. The Boston Celtics watched Kyrie Irving walk out the door 4 months ago, and instead of crumbling, they are strolling into tonight's game against the Clippers, sitting atop the Eastern Conference standings. They are the only team in the league ranked top 6 in both offense and defense. And you can say they've done all that on a soft schedule, and you'd be right. They've had the 3rd easiest schedule in the league so far. But by definition, every team has parts of their season that are softer than others. And even then, most teams don't reel off 11 wins in 12 games. Part of the success is due to the front office's ability to pivot. Instead of waiting around for Kyrie to make a decision this spring, the Celtics went hard after Kemba Walker, whose fit so far has been seamless. And then also part of this is due to the tremendous stock of talent still on this team. Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. Remember, the teams that are devastated when a star player leaves are often a victim of a chicken and egg sort of thing, right? The star is leaving because the team just isn't good enough otherwise to compete at a high level. But this storybook doesn't go that way because, of course, that's not why Kyrie left. So the Celtics aren't a mess without him. The Celtics are still good at almost everything offensively, and they turn the ball over the least of anyone in the entire league, which is important because, if you keep hold of the basketball, you have more chances to score with it. And by the way, none of this is to say that it's going to be smooth sailing for Boston from here. The schedule is about to get much tougher starting tonight. Hayward is still out for 5 more weeks with a broken hand, and eventually that's going to take its toll. Tatum has been inconsistent. Even though he did have a strong outing against the Suns on Monday, he's having trouble with, of all things, his game from inside the arc. Tatum is he's shooting just 42% on his twos, which is actually worst in the league among regular players. Most of all, there's still a ton of questions for this team at center. Of course, it wasn't just Kyrie who left, but Al Horford too, and the Celtics also had to deal Aaron Baines to make salary cap space for Kemba. As it stands now, Boston's best lineup has no one taller than 6'8" taking the floor. For this team to compete in the playoffs against the likes of Milwaukee and Philadelphia, Boston is going to have to find someone who can help them against guys like Giannis and Joel Embiid. But all of these problems are easier problems to address than what Boston dealt with last year. What sticks out most about the Celtics right now is that they are simply playing basketball. The hand-wringing of who gets to do what and how does everyone feel about it is gone. This doesn't have to be a fairy tale of happily ever after. The Celtics are just having fun, and they're fun to watch. And that is a pretty good story, too. So, Tracy, do you think that this problem with the bigs is big enough? Do you think that they need another big to contend in the East?
Absolutely. Well, to contend in the East, no. I think they're fine in the East if they want to contend for a championship. And that's what I think these guys want to do. It's not just about contending in the East. They're going to be fine in the Eastern Conference.
There's tall people in the Eastern Conference.
They all play for Philly. All the tall people.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. This league is really a perimeter-driven league, and they have 2 of the youngest guys that are pretty damn good on the perimeter, being able to play offense and defense. It's 2-way guys. I think the reason they're 11-2 or whatever their record is at the top of the Eastern Conference right now is just because opportunity, right? Jaylen Brown really was trying to find his way on how to play with all these guys they had last year. Kyrie, Al Horford, they had a stacked team, and he was the guy that was kind of the odd man out that, he had to pick up some crumbs. Now he has a lot on his plate that he has to do for this team, and I think he's, really handling it well. There's just more opportunity. Jayson Tatum, he came in the league to be an offensive guy that can put the ball in the basket at any given time. Now, defensively, I think the 2 of these guys are just taking the challenge with Kyrie gone. Kemba is playing well. I mean, I suspect they keep this up even though Hayward is out. But to contend for a championship with no big man, I don't think they have the pieces.
Well, they don't have no big men. Tice is playing well. Robert Williams, Grant Williams. These guys are giving. Now, these are not household names, but they're giving them good minutes. But my point is this: I don't know who is the big man. Like when people say, "Oh, go get a big man," who is it? Who is the big man that's available and worth trading one of their core wing players? Because that's what it takes. This team is good enough right now then I'm not sure. Let's go through the names that are brought up.
Adams,
Kevin
right,
Love, Steven
possibly.
Adams, Clint Capella. Like, I'm not sure those guys, compared to the production they're getting from who they have, are moving them up a level when you have to sacrifice one of the core wing players to get those. To me, the real question is, are the Celtics the kind of team that can bump up a level in the playoffs, or are they one of those teams that plays to their ceiling in the regular season and doesn't have another level, which is a fancy way of saying Philly, Milwaukee, their top opposition, they don't have the best player in either of those series. And sometimes the playoffs just comes down to who has the best player in a playoff series.
Well, Danny Ainge has draft picks to deal, right? There's 3 picks in the next draft, 3 first-rounders he has. Is that correct? So,
but you got to match salary, right? If you want one of these big guys that makes $25 million, you got to match salary, and that's very difficult for Boston.
Yes, and you have to convince that team that the player is worth what you think they're worth, not what they think they're worth, which in Cleveland, to use one of your examples, is probably going to be an issue.
It's going to be hard.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.